Y'all, the white people are fucking fed up on this app. I don't know how many videos I have come across of white people saying, y'all need to fucking chill. The white exhaustion within the white race, it's something to be studied, because if y'all are fed up, then you know something is wrong. Like, some people, most of the times, there's not that many people calling out white people on their bullshit, especially their own kind. But to see so many videos of just exhaustion is insane. So that's how I know this is just a key indicator of people being more vocal on beliefs, where they stand, whereas back then they would just be quiet and just sit in their privilege. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's great. I think those videos are great. Keep calling out people and having uncomfortable conversations in the comments. I'm going to be there. I'm not going to say much, but if I like the video, I like the video, because you're also safe. You're also safe. And that's how you identify yourself. Not with a blue bracelet, because I'm not really looking at your wrist out in public. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I'm not looking at your wrist. So I'm looking at what you say, how you interact, and how you do to change the trajectory. So keep it up. Bye. And don't get me started on the I'm white, non-practicing comments. Chef's kiss.
White men are the mental health problem in this country. Jim Crow, white men. Slavery, white men. Segregation, white men. Concentration camps for Asian Americans in the late 30s and early 40s. 1,800 people died. How many black people were hung from trees? 8,000. Let me guess. Oh yeah, once again, white men. The gun violence? 98% are men. 84% are white men, U.S. citizens. I see a trend. How about the Middle Passage, where 1.2 African Americans died? Oh yeah, once again, white men. Why was the Second Amendment written? Let me think. So black people couldn't have their freedoms. So the white men could once again control them. Who's in the White House? An adjudicated rapist, convicted felon white man. Wow, I see a trend. But somehow Americans are just begging to blame a trans person, a non-white person. See, what happened to George Floyd is symbolic of what's happening in this country. The white man putting his knee on the neck of a non-white person and sitting there in broad daylight with the balls to say, who's going to stop me? And that's what we're seeing right now. So that's the question that we need to ask ourselves as a fucking country. Who's going to stop them? Because I'm just one person here. Now, I don't know about you, but I got friends and family that are sitting behind the white privilege, and I want nothing to do with them. Not because of who they are, because their lack of action. Martin Luther King said, history is going to remember not the people that did bad things, but the good people that stood by and did nothing. Because once again, the white man is hiding behind their privilege while everybody else is getting treated like absolute fucking garbage. Because it doesn't affect me. You don't even want to go on a general strike to stop fascism. Oh, I can't work. Oh, I got a job. White man is the mental health crisis in the United States of America. It has been since day one. When you look at the majority of them, what do you see? A bunch of insecure little wannabe alpha males with small penises that need big trucks and guns to feel like a real man. That's the real problem, is toxic masculinity. That the white man feels unable to shit on everyone's rights just because of how they look. It's ironic, isn't it, that they demonize black people because they're black on the outside, and yet their hearts are black on the inside. Isn't that ironic? And every single time we see a mass shooting, they're just salivating on the white supremacist red hatters to say, oh my gosh, it was an immigrant, it was a trans person, it was a gay people. 84% of gun violence is white men. But when it happens, like at the church the other day, what happens? Oh, thoughts and prayers. But what happened with the racist podcaster? Oh, they were just dying for it to be somebody on the left so they can just blame somebody else. A white man. The church yesterday. A white man. 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 Ahmaud Arbery. Guess what? 3 white men that chased out a black guy. Breonna Taylor. Oh, a white cop. Again and again and again and again and again. It's the same demographic. White men are the problem in this fucking country. And until we address the real mental health epidemic, which is white supremacy built on white men controlling people, because that's how this country was designed. For 21-year-old landowning white men to shit on everybody else. This country was designed to benefit my demographic, and that is not okay. That is the original sin of this country. And until we address it, we will never be a great country, and we haven't been a great country. And if you don't like that, then you can ship.
Hello brothers and sisters, welcome back to the channel. I'm hoping that you're doing great from wherever you're watching me from. I'm your host and presenter Hygiene Stories, and that's something that I feel like we want to discuss, or something that we want to talk about that is really important. Remember, initially there are a couple of white people that came out and decided to discuss how they are tired of black people and how they're tired of the behaviors of black people. But guess what? As time went by, white people started learning that the problem is not black people, and they started to see how white supremacy has caused a lot of problems in the United States. And as a result, this is what they did. They discovered that sometimes majority of the problems that they claim that black people do, they learned, or they realized that this is not something that like entirely black people do. And they resented, and they started seeing themselves as people who causes this whole problem. And in today's video, brothers and sisters, we are going to be seeing white people reality checking other white people for the mistakes that they have done. In short, white people are having white fatigue, right? Because majority of these things that usually they did say that black people do, they came to learn that it is not like it's entirely black people that do this. They came to learn that, in fact, white people on the other side, they do this. The only difference is that there is no much surveillance on the white community as compared to the surveillance in the black community. You see, when people expect somebody to do a problem, psychologically, they may see problems in this person because at the back of their mind, that's how they're tuned to see these people. Whereas people are not saying that there are unforeseen activities, there are unforeseen behaviors that people might have, right, that make them still be liable for the problems that they cause. Yet since there is not much surveillance on the white community, they might go away with this. And so many cases you've seen professors like Tim Wise discuss how so many white people have gone away with mistakes that black people couldn't even try to do, from traffic, from drug usage, from all these things that we are trying to tell you, brothers and sisters. And so I'm inviting you to watch this video. As you know, I'm your host and presenter Hygiene Stories. And if you're watching me for the first time, I'm asking you to please subscribe to the channel, join the membership, and really get to what I can offer you. For those who are always coming back and always watching my videos, man, I'm grateful for the support that you're giving me. For those who are always sharing through super thanks, those who are sharing through any form of support, brothers and sisters, I highly appreciate. So let's watch the video. I'll be back and then I'll be giving my thoughts in regards to this. So let's watch it.
Bro, I got white fatigue. I know everybody's talking about it right now. But dude, I worked like 18 hours a day for like 3 weeks straight. My wife had birthday on the 27th. Happy birthday, shout out to my wife, best thing in the world. And I took her to Nola's in my uniform with grease on my forehead. If you don't know what Nola's is, the bill was $200 fucking dollars. You know what I mean? Yeah, so so it's Sunday, and I had to shut my work phone off. And like I took a nap, and I was supposed to be cutting the grass and like feeding the dogs. Fuck them dogs. I got white fatigue. Fuck around.
If you're a white person claiming to have black fatigue, get fucking bent. What do you think black people have? Oh, poor white people have black fatigue. So tired of being politically correct and treating them like people. What the fuck is wrong with you? What the fuck is wrong with you? Black people in 2025 are still seeing instances every day where white people are treating them less than human. We had something literally a week ago where someone has raked in $600,000+ for calling a black autistic child the N-word after he took something out of her son's bag. Black fatigue? You have black fatigue? What the fuck do you think black people of color have in this country? They have got to be so fatigued of fighting the same fight for decades, centuries, day after day. And you think you have fatigue? You're a weak piece of shit if you have black fatigue. This happens every single day where there are signs and acts of racism that shows that it's not gone. And if anything, because of Donald Trump and MAGA, it is coming back stronger than ever. And it's no longer just in the shadows. It is out in full broad daylight, in public, and is just laughing in the face of black people. So you want to talk about having black fatigue? That is the weakest ass shit I have ever heard. And embarrassed for white people. Anybody who says they have black fatigue, like I said, get fucking bent, because you don't know shit about anything. How pathetic.
So this lady, she got tired of all this shit, and she was addressing because she goes,
can we please stop telling people that we don't shower? Because some of us do actually shower once a day, sometimes twice a day.
Could you not tell people that we don't shower? Because I shower at least, once or twice a day sometimes if the water feels good.
it's the gift that keeps on giving. You can say what you want about social media, but sometimes social media, if you use it the right way, you get the best shit. I made some videos about white people not washing with washcloths and stuff like that. You see this right here? This is a washcloth. This is how you wash yourself. This shit picks up all the dirt. And I have some white friends that don't wash every day, which is insane to me. I can understand if you're if you're at home and you're just like lounging around, you haven't left the house, you haven't showered, different. But there's motherfuckers that put their clothes on over the dirt from the day before and go into society with their dirty, funky and mingle with people, and they won't wash. I remember when I was in France, and they was like, "You wash every day?" No, impossible, no fire. What? What do you mean you don't wash every day? Are you out of your fucking mind? I don't know who this lady is, but you look like you did not shower before you made that video. What she didn't add was you didn't add the washcloth in there, so I don't know if I believe that. I want somebody to make a video going, "Hey, hi, I'm a white dude. I just want to let you know, washcloth, dude. You hit the asshole, you hit the pits, and I'm out of here."
Hi there. Just yelling into the void. So, there's something I've been suffering from since about 2015. I like to call it white fatigue. Yeah. I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted with your petty prejudices. I'm exhausted with your casual racism. I'm exhausted with your complete lack of self-awareness. I'm exhausted with your misplaced superiority. I'm exhausted with you thinking you're not the problem. I am exhausted with your fear of diversity, equity, and inclusion, because it is a fear. It's not normal to be afraid of those things. It's something you've been taught. I am sick of your pearl clutching about trans and LGBTQ people and how you're going to explain that to your children. I am sick of your pious version of prosperity Christianity, where because you believe a certain way or read a certain book, that somehow you are deserving of all that is good in the universe, and that's why you have everything that's good in the universe, not because of systems that are put in place to benefit you. Yeah. I am sick of you telling me about the vacations that you go on where you either stay on a super controlled resort or a cruise ship and then tell me you went someplace. You didn't. You changed locations, but you didn't actually go on a vacation. unless you interacted with local people and tried to learn something about the culture. I am sick of you assuming incorrectly that the way someone speaks, that their dialect or accent determines their intelligence, because I assure you it does not, especially in the case of Black Americans. I am sick of your upholding white supremacy. I am sick of 90% of everything that white people do. I am sick of people making excuses for their bad behavior. I am sick of it. Really freaking sick of it. And that is why my circle is super small and I don't try to engage, because what's the point? What's the point? These people are beyond help and they give me fatigue, downright exhaustion. You're on my last nerve. That's my rant. Bye for now.
You know it's bad when we see white people going through white exhaustion in real time. Hold on.
You're actually not that smart. Here's an idea. How about you stop interrupting us and just go on your way? If you didn't want it to be interrupted, then you wouldn't want to have it in public. Why are you doing it public? Because this is public service. This is how I help people. I let people come up with questions about problems they have, and I try to give them advice to help them help themselves. Because it's really hard to actually get in touch with an attorney. So the way that I volunteer with my community is I let people ask questions about problems they have, like this man's problem with his business, and try to give him the best advice I can to keep him out of trouble or to try to solve his problems. This is how I give back. This is my social service in pro bono. But to you, it's a joke. To you, it's let me interrupt it. To you, it's why can't I pet your dog? Because I'm entitled. You have a fucking dog, and it's not fair I can't pet it. It's let me interrupt the whole goddamn fucking thing. Why are you here if you don't want these things to happen? Because you got a little drunk on the Beltline and decided that you wanted to just be the worst part of society. Right? I'm sorry if you don't like this interaction, but you don't get to complain when the smoke of a fire blows back into your face when you're the one that blew on the coals to begin with.
White woman entitlement on full display. Literally on display, unprompted, unprovoked. Woo, child. Anyway, bye.
White people, let's talk about it. Let's talk about our violence. White violence. No more deflecting, no more blaming everything on everybody else. Let's confront ourselves. White people in America, our history is so extremely violent. And instead of confronting that, we continue to blame other people for the issues and the problems in this country, instead of just taking ownership of our part to play in everything, which is a huge part. Can we stop scapegoating other groups of people, please, and just look at ourselves? White people, it's time to talk about it. Like, it's long past time. Getting rid of other groups of people in this country is not going to make this country better. It's not going to make your life better. It's not going to make you better. I think white people are so scared to talk about race and to talk about white violence and white supremacy because they don't want to connect themselves to it. We don't want to feel like we're a part of the problem. But unless you're acknowledging the reality of how the US, this country, runs, you are a part of the problem. I truly believe in my heart, in my soul, that if you're born a white person in this country or on this planet, but I'll just speak about this country, part of that journey is to dismantle systems that have been built to oppress other people. The hard work of life is to confront yourself. How do I benefit from the way that things are? And how does my benefiting from those things harm other people? And instead of walking around with, 1,000-pound bag of shame on your back, consider it your responsibility to do that work. Consider it an opportunity that you are in the best possible position to make this world a better place.
by not accepting racist and prejudiced and oppressive systems for what they are and trying to contribute to changing them. Use the privilege that you have for good. I don't think that anybody can ever really love themselves without being honest about themselves, without being honest with themselves. And that work is painful and hard, but it's so worth it. White people, you don't have to consciously think that you're better than other people in order to contribute to harm against them. All it takes to contribute to harm is to stay silent and disengaged. White people, can we finally get this shit right? Can we finally take accountability? Can we finally look ourselves in the mirror and decide that this isn't good enough? We're not doing a good enough job. You aren't losing because somebody else is safe and cared for. You aren't losing because somebody different than you exists. White people, let's talk about it. Let's start having these conversations with ourselves and with each other. It's time.
Good morning. Let's talk about some shit. Like black fatigue. There's a white woman on the internet talking about how she's got black fatigue and she's tired of these wretched black people. Look here, Methany. You're giving me white fatigue. Okay? Those people on the internet, and we look at it and we're like, the caucasity. That's what she's giving. That gives me white fatigue. The things that we see happening, and we're like, that's some white people shit, but I ain't that white. That's white fatigue. January 6th, and the people who still have the Trump flags on their trucks, white fatigue. Those Joe Dirt motherfuckers who come into my comment section talking about Trump 2024, I voted for all of this. White fatigue. Do you have white fatigue? She does. Oh, see? So while some of you white people are out here talking about black fatigue, that ain't none of your goddamn business. You're giving me white fatigue. And since we're just making up stuff to post on the internet to get other people to hate other people, here's my take. The rise of Christian nationalism and white supremacy. White fatigue.
I'm just a white indie author sitting in front of my camera, hoping to find readers that want to hear the white voice. All of my characters in my books are white. I wrote it this way because I have the white voice and I want to spread it. And so that you can learn about white culture and respect white culture. And I think it's really important because the white culture is just crapped on all the time. We hear things like, oh, you don't even have culture, and what is your culture? Just slavery. You know what I'm talking about because you've heard it.
You want us to respect not washing your legs and eating unseasoned food? That's what you're mad about? Being black is exhausting, and having to deal with racism is exhausting. A white lady came online and called a 5-year-old boy the N-word and got all this money. And now all of you racist grifters are out here trying to do what? Make money? We went from black fatigue to black privilege, and now this week we're on white people are being discriminated against. To not understand by saying you are a white author and you have a white voice and you're going to white people and you're talking about the white experience, why and how that's racist and how and why that's detrimental to the rest of us is the problem in this country. Majority of authors since the dawn of time in America have been white. Almost half this nation is not white, but almost all of the authors are white. In 2020, the publishing industry entered a moment of more urgency about the persistent lack of racial and ethnic diversity among employees and authors. The industry is disproportionately white, and the canon of published books from trade publishers is overwhelmingly so. According to one analysis, 95% of American fiction books published between 1950 and 2018 were written by white people. While that analysis looks at a broad sweep of time, more recent figures indicate that both the publishing industry and the books it puts out remain disproportionately white. The lack of diversity in the ranks of publishing professionals and in works brought to the market are linked. In a cultural industry like publishing, where subjective interpretations of what constitutes good or marketable literature are a major determinant of what gets published, the whiteness of the industry staff has accompanied largely white kind of published authors. Not only is the United States a demographically diverse nation, as of the last census, an estimated 42% of the country are people of color. It also boasts a demographically diverse readership. The National Endowment for the Arts estimates that approximately a quarter of America's regular adult readers are people of color.
So then I think it's safe to say that white people can start asking for support as a white-owned business and a white author with white characters simply because we have been experiencing discrimination in America for years now. Jobs, colleges, scholarships, literary agents. That's discrimination. It's not okay just because it happened to black people 100 years ago. And I'm not even dismissing what they went through, but anybody my age and a little older and younger has not experienced that.
Newsflash, me and my cousins are the first people in our families born in America with full rights as humans and as citizens. My mother, who is 60, was not born with full rights in this country. This is their new one. White people are being discriminated against because they've never had to share space. And if black people can say they're looking for black-owned businesses, black-owned barbershops, then I'm gonna say I'm looking for a white-owned business. Newsflash, all the businesses are white. All the industries are white. All of the schools are white. My reality as a black man is that I exist within a white country. That is not even a white country. 42% of the people in this country are people of color, but you guys control 90% of everything. When people have never had to share any sense of equity, any sense of responsibility, and you've always been on top, when other people want something and they want to raise themselves up, you guys feel attacked. You feel like you're being attacked, when in reality is nothing's happening to you. You're still in control of the systems of power in this country. A white woman came on TV, came online and called the little 5-year-old the N-word and got all this money. And so now all of you guys are out here looking like grifters.
Let's talk about the secret unwritten rules for white women and their friend groups. And I learned all of this the hard way, but I've learned so much. I'm an anthropologist at this point. So the number one thing that you need to understand about white women is that shame is their biggest motivator and their weapon of choice. So the only thing that motivates them to do anything with their kids, with their husband, with their body, with their life is shame. They don't want to be shamed for anything ever. They will go to some crazy lengths to avoid shame of any kind from anyone. They're also constantly weaponizing shame and hurting each other with the use of shame. But they think that they're helping you. They genuinely think when they bring up something that they feel like you need to know in order to avoid shame, they think that they're helping you avoid shame. Amongst white women, conflict should be avoided at all costs. They are so deeply avoidant. They will avoid anything. They avoid and avoid and avoid so much that everything is simmering underneath the surface. And it simmers so much that sometimes you do get a big explosion or a blow up. It's unusual, but you do get that. But after that, you don't get any accountability or vulnerability or apology. You just go directly back into the cycle of avoidance. There's no conflict resolution because there is no conflict because everything is good. You want to surround yourself with people that bring you joy. If someone brings drama, they are ostracized and avoided. However, if someone says out loud that they don't like drama, they absolutely love drama and are constantly pulling strings behind the scenes so that they can observe drama that they're not involved in. Within a friend group, there's always a problematic friend, someone that the whole group has decided is a problem. However, any discussion about that problematic friend is private. You might think, oh, the tension's building, a lot of people are talking, a lot of real problems are coming to the surface. I should speak up for myself, and when I do, I'm speaking for the group. No, you are not. They will complain and complain and complain and let the problems build and build and build for a lifetime. They will never, ever, ever, ever back someone up who engages in conflict. Because once you open the door to conflict, you open the door to vulnerability, which opens the door to shame, and that's to be avoided. Another tactic you'll see a lot in these white women friend groups is isolation. People love one-on-one conversation because everything is a secret. Everything is a secret. They want the communication they have with you to be different than the communication they have with the next person. And it could be because they're telling stories slightly differently, but mostly it's because all of their feelings are kept so deeply inside. Maybe they need a conversation with you to leak out a little tiny bit of their truth, but they don't ever want to deal with their truth or have their truth reflected back on them. Most empathy is performative because there's no authentic true loyalty. There's no authentic truth. There's no conflict. There's no conflict resolution. So any empathy they can give you is just an ear. It's just someone who is listening. That's all. There's no validation. Because when the person who's listening hears that someone has a problem or a feeling, feelings are bad, feelings should be avoided, that is very scary to them. That is vulnerable to them. Vulnerability is the antidote to shame. And if they have built up walls to avoid shame, they're not going to engage in vulnerability at all. So even if they look like they're listening, and even if it feels like they're validating, and even if you're hoping that their empathy is authentic, it's not. Now, if you play by these rules, you will be rewarded by companionship or the appearance of companionship, a group, being a member of the group, being included. If you do not play by these rules, you will not face conflict. You will face the silent treatment. The silent treatment is used by white women to teach you a lesson. They don't care what you're going through. They don't care what they did to you to cause you to become upset or to have feelings or to create drama. Their only recourse is the silent treatment, because within the silent treatment, they can avoid and you can learn your lesson. They will always come back around after they issue you the silent treatment. I had to learn the hard way after many, many bouts of being issued the silent treatment that these friend groups were not the place for me. Do not ever allow yourself to be handed the silent treatment during a time of peril, during a time when you are begging for resolution, and then allow them to come back around.
Brothers and sisters, before jumping into the main concept, this is what I want to say. Usually the word black fatigue didn't mean the same thing that it meant today. The term black fatigue was originally coined to describe the emotional, the psychological, and physical exhaustion that black people experience as a result of constant exposure to racism, discrimination, and systemic inequality. You realize that as time went by, some white people misused or reinterpreted the idea to describe their own supposed exhaustion from hearing about racism, right, diversity, and the demands for justice from black communities. This idea of being tired of a group that could choose when or whether to engage with racial issues, while black people could not escape them. But you understand, as time progressed, something interesting has happened. America's deep racial contradictions have begun to overwhelm not only its victims, but also its beneficiaries. And the beneficiaries are white people. What are they benefiting from? They're benefiting from the white supremacy, a system that usually pushed or tried so much to make black people look like the problem causers, while white people as people who are so much civilized, right? White Americans are now increasingly facing what can be described as white fatigue, a growing disillusionment, confusion, and weariness with consequences of their own systems of whiteness. There's something interesting about this new white fatigue. The new white fatigue is that they are tired of themselves. Right? The new white fatigue is not about hearing too much about racism. No. It's about living in the decaying reality that white supremacy has built. You understand, for centuries, whiteness in America promised security. It promised superiority. It promised identity. But today, millions of white Americans are realizing that this promise was built on exploitation, inequality, and illusion. The same structure that oppressed black and brown people are now producing social fragmentation. It's producing loneliness. It's producing drug addiction. And it's producing economic despair in many white communities. For instance, the opioid epidemic, suicide rates, the collapse of working class towns across rural America shows the truth, and it shows that the myth of white supremacy has failed even its own believers. As truth, I understand as truth goes by, it unfolds, right? Many white Americans are becoming exhausted, not from blackness, understand this. They are getting exhausted to sustain a system that no longer delivers the comfort of moral clarity it once promised. I wanted you to understand that. Also, you need to understand that this fatigue, sorry, also comes from a psychological strain of denial. And this psychological strain of denial is whiteness. Whiteness itself is a social construct which depends on ignorance, which depends on avoidance. It requires its subjects to pretend that inequality is natural, that privilege is invisible, and that racism is historical relic rather than a living force. But in the era of mass information, this is harder to sustain. Young white Americans are constantly confronted with videos of police brutality, the truth of redlining, and the realities of racial injustice. Right? Many of them find themselves caught in a moral crisis, what we call a moral crisis. They were raised to believe America was fair and just, yet reality shows otherwise. The emotional tension of reconciling this contradiction is producing a new kind of mental exhaustion, a deep white fatigue rooted in guilt, confusion, and fear of losing dominance in a more diverse, truthful world. Economically, if we also try to talk about that part, too, white fatigue is being experienced. White fatigue is emerging from the collapse of old racial order. In the past, you understand that whiteness came with economic and social advantages that were easily visible: better schools, higher pay, more political influence. But globalization, automation, and neoliberal policies have eroded the middle class, leaving many white Americans disillusioned and angry. Instead of blaming corporate greed or government corruption, some lash out at minorities, immigrants, and progressive movements, fueling political polarization. Others, however, are beginning to realize that their true enemy was never the black or brown neighbor. It was the corporate and political elite who used racial division to maintain control. These awakenings creates inner fatigue as old narratives collapse and new uncomfortable truths emerge. One of the most important talking points that I wanted to touch is the cultural part of this. White fatigue also reflects the identity crisis of a declining empire. You understand, for centuries, whiteness defined itself through domination. It defined itself through land, through people, through culture. But as global balance of power shifts and the myth of Western superiority fades, white Americans are facing an existential emptiness. Many no longer know who they are without the hierarchy that placed them at the top. This loss of identity manifests in culture wars, nostalgia for the past, and the desperate attempts to make America great again. The exhaustion comes from fighting against inevitable change, clinging to illusions of greatness that can no longer be sustained in a world demanding equality and accountability. Right. Now, in the end of all this, you understand that white fatigue marks a turning point in American consciousness. It signals that weight of maintaining a false racial order is becoming too heavy. Even for those it once favored, the psychological burden of guilt, denial, and fear is catching up with white America, forcing it to face itself for the first time. The question now is whether this fatigue will lead to a transformation or a regression. Whether white Americans will confront their history and dismantle their systems of whiteness, or retreat further into resentment and denial. Either way, the exhaustion, you understand, is real. And it reveals a deep truth. The system of racial domination arms everyone. And until America reckons with that, the fatigue, black and white alike, will open deeply. So brothers and sisters, please let me know what you think and feel about this video. But until then, let me see you on my next video. Peace, love, and harmony. Salute.